Hollywood isn't a secret cabal of racists. It's a secret cabal of people terrified of looking like racists. And I'm just tired of, no matter how much progress is made, social justice warriors feeling the need to gaslight us as if none of it had happened.
Ideology is more important than art.
Way more, certainly to the awards.
Yeah. And it's just, it's like, ideology
Right.
trumps art. Ideology trumps individual effort. Ideology trumps good. Ideology trumps entertaining.
Hollywood used to know. They used to know how to make a movie that was about something. A movie for adults that was also entertaining.
Because Hollywood destroyed the one thing we all depend on to relax, Maher is starting his war with them again. Films. You can hardly see a movie these days without stumbling into a woke message. Maher is not amused at all. So, he hauled Hollywood into the spotlight with one of the most vicious takedowns you'll ever hear leveled at the entertainment business. So, if fiery political commentary is your thing, slam that subscribe button and let's dive in.
Always been the problem in Hollywood, not enough Jews. The woke even have a word for this troubling new phenomenon, Jew face. Do you see what I mean about them having their head up there?
Identity politics have transformed Hollywood so drastically that the industry barely looks the same anymore. What was once a world fueled by imagination, where actors could become anyone and bring any story to life, has now turned into a battlefield of ideological restrictions. Today, online activists are quick to attack performers who step into roles outside their personal identity or background, treating casting choices like ethical violations instead of artistic decisions. It's become so extreme that the very essence of acting, pretending to be someone else, is now under scrutiny. Maher pointed to a perfect example of this insanity: an actor being told they shouldn't play a role simply because they aren't Jewish. Just stop and think about that. An entire profession built around transformation is now being judged through identity categories instead of skill or performance. It's not just restrictive. It threatens storytelling itself. And Maher isn't holding back when it comes to exposing how absurd Hollywood has become.
Sensitivity, she just said, no, college is for introducing you to new ideas, not for and making you feel wonderful and always right. You're thinking of brunch with your parents. I'm just amazed at how this generation can simultaneously be too sensitive for anything distasteful and somehow also so into eating.
Maher also goes after Hollywood's extreme oversensitivity these days. Jokes and themes that were once widely enjoyed, harmless, and even praised for being clever have now been twisted into alleged offenses, picked apart by a culture obsessed with finding something to be offended by. What used to make audiences laugh effortlessly is now treated like some moral failure, examined scene by scene for anything that might be labeled problematic. Yet, in a contradiction Maher can't ignore, that same hypersensitive generation often embraces behavior that older generations would have considered unthinkable. The same people outraged over an old joke, often the first to normalize things their grandparents would have found shocking. It's a bizarre double standard: outrage over fiction, indifference toward real-world excess, and Maher isn't afraid to highlight just how backwards and hypocritical that warped hierarchy of sensitivity has become in modern culture.
Man, can we live in the present? No Academy member this year filled out their ballot thinking, well, I didn't think Chalamet was very good, but I'll vote for him because he's white. Hollywood isn't a secret cabal of racists. It's a secret cabal of people terrified of looking like racists. And I'm just tired of, no matter how much progress is made, social justice warriors feeling the need to gaslight us as if none of it had happened. A couple of years ago, the Academy established a very complex rule book that said you couldn't even be considered for Best Picture unless you met certain criteria, like 30% of the crew or 2 department heads had to be from underrepresented groups, and a main storyline had to be as well. Well, there goes my idea about a polka band in a ski town.
You can't even place all the blame on Hollywood alone, because in many cases the industry's hand has been forced by social justice activists pushing decisions that are meant to satisfy the far left rather than serve the actual story. It's no longer about creative vision. It's about survival. Studios now bend under pressure just to avoid being branded problematic or hit with backlash campaigns before a movie even reaches theaters. These days, before a film is approved for production, It often has to satisfy a list of ideological demands, standards that have almost nothing to do with talent, story, or artistic quality, and everything to do with appeasing activist expectations. Checklists, messaging standards, and sensitivity reviews have quietly worked their way into the filmmaking process behind closed doors. And the result is obvious. These forced requirements are damaging movies, draining away authenticity, spontaneity, and the kind of fearless storytelling that once made Hollywood great in the first place.
Please don't get us wrong. We're not saying you can't hire who you want or make a movie about whatever you want. Okay, that's exactly what we're saying. I'm surprised Trump hasn't sued them over it. But seriously, by this standard, you couldn't make Titanic today and hope to get nominated, or Braveheart, or Amadeus. Apollo 13 was about a bunch of white people because white people have done some stuff. But somehow, without a production code, Hidden Figures got made and completed the historical record about how we got to the moon.
Maher is absolutely right about this one. We do not need rigid creative checklists to make a truly great movie. What should matter most is talent, storytelling, and execution. If any group believes its stories are not being told or represented enough, the solution should not be forced mandates. The real answer is to raise funding, create platforms, and push to tell those stories independently and authentically. But producers should not be pressured into inserting characters purely for optics or to avoid criticism. That isn't representation. That's tokenism. And audiences can spot the difference immediately. Forcing inclusion in an artificial way instead of allowing it to come naturally through strong storytelling is ruining the moviegoing experience for everyone involved. Maher's point cuts straight to the center of the issue. Authenticity should be what drives Hollywood, not fear-based obligation disguised as progress.
No. They used to know how to make a movie that was about something. A movie for adults that was also entertaining and not just depressing. There was already a category for that. Best documentary. You know, important filmmaking about the conflict in Syria or the plight of the hot dog stand owners. You know, the part of the Oscar show where you got up and went to the bathroom.
720, 753. Maher also points out the serious lack of diversity in the kinds of stories Hollywood chooses to tell these days. It's not necessarily that the films themselves are badly made. Many of them are technically polished, but there's an obvious pattern. Hollywood seems almost entirely focused on heavy, depressing, or trauma-centered narratives instead of offering audiences a real variety of emotions and experiences. To be clear, no one is saying serious or emotional stories should disappear altogether. They absolutely have value and can be incredibly powerful when done well. What we are saying is that other themes, joy, adventure, comedy, light-hearted escapism deserve space too in order to create balance. Right now, it feels like Hollywood has forgotten that movies are also supposed to be entertaining and fun, not just vehicles for pushing heavy messages or emotional burden. Maher's point is simple. Variety used to be one of Hollywood's strengths, and somewhere along the line, that got lost.
Always really appreciated the way you pushed back when anyone tried to stifle you, shut you up, shame you, bully you. They tried it with the last one, with Once Upon a Time in the Hollywood, some bullshit about Margot Robbie doesn't have enough lines. And you do what I wish other people would do. Instead of apologizing like a little pussy, you say, I don't agree with your assessment.
If somebody brings up something that actually is legitimate, I'll even have a conversation with them about it because I'm actually into interesting thought and I don't have to even agree with you. Oh, but
that's the exact kind of pressure so many Hollywood directors are dealing with right now. The non-stop demand to bend to the woke crowd's constantly shifting expectations. And it's never limited to one issue. That crowd can tear apart almost anything, from accusing certain characters of not getting enough screen time to complaining that one actor had fewer lines than another. No detail is ever too small to trigger outrage. And more often than not, the demand isn't just acknowledgement. It's public groveling and apology. Sadly, plenty of directors have already folded under that pressure instead of standing by their creative decisions. They release statements, walk back choices, and basically beg for forgiveness over decisions that were never wrong in the first place. But MR strongly believes that kind of surrender is completely unnecessary. Directors should be free to make creative choices without constantly bowing to manufactured outrage.
People become actors because they want to spend their life not being who they are. Appropriating sounds like an unforgivable sin until you remember that's what acting is. That's why acting jobs are called roles. Sean Penn won an Oscar for playing gay civil rights martyr Harvey Milk. At the time, it was considered a courageous act of solidarity for a straight male movie star to play a homosexual. Now it's the opposite. Eddie Redmayne played a transgender woman in The Danish Girl, but now calls that a mistake because many people don't have a chair at the table.
MR explains something that should be painfully obvious. At its core, acting is make-believe, and the people taking on these roles are simply doing their job, stepping into characters who are not necessarily reflections of who they really are. That is literally what acting is. Yet despite that basic truth, the woke crowd often targets actors who play characters whose beliefs or values do not align with their own, treating performance as if it was some kind of personal endorsement. They'll do everything from launching backlash campaigns to attacking an actor's reputation, no matter the performer's talent or intent. And when this keeps happening again and again, it creates a chilling effect. Talented actors become afraid to take on certain roles, not because they lack interest or ability, but because they fear backlash from the far left. It's suffocating creativity and turning acting into a minefield instead of the art form it was meant to be. Quentin Tarantino echoes MR's exact point, openly arguing that ideology has now overtaken art in modern film. According to him, and MR clearly agrees, Hollywood is no longer truly centered on art, creativity, or pure entertainment. It has become a vehicle for promoting a certain ideology, with storytelling pushed into the background. What was once a craft powered by passion and imagination has now been turned into a platform for activism disguised as cinema. And sadly, this new direction is ruining movies, stripping away the sense of magic and escapism audiences once looked forward to. You can barely go to the theater anymore just to relax and enjoy a film without being lectured on some woke theme or another. Whether it belongs in the story or not, it feels exhausting and honestly insulting to viewers who simply want quality entertainment. Both Tarantino and MR seem to agree. Art should move people, not preach them into submission.
This absolutely comes in waves, all right? So it's like, okay, just looking at the 40s, all right, that was during the wartime, but that's also the time that you had film noir, where you actually, even though with the Hays Code, you had these dark, dark stories that were being told. But then after the war was won, then you had the 50s, which was the first of the completely homogenized decades, where you couldn't say shit if you had a mouthful, all right? And every bestseller, every play that was turned into a movie, if there was anything sexual about it or anything, that's all going to be drained out of the movie. It's going to be weaned out of the movie. It's just the way it is. And then, to me, it's one of the worst decades in Hollywood is the 50s. And the 60s, pretty much from like 1960 to 1966, was the 50s part 2. Right. But then what we think of as the 60s starts in about 67, and that's when New Hollywood comes out. Yeah. And that's an absolute positive response.